Welcome. Rarely do I have an opportunity to have such a wonderful, inspirational group to chat with. Sadhguru, a man who's taken India by storm with your brilliance. You are diversity personified, so we'll be talking about your pluralism.
Namaskaram to everyone. When we say plural, generally people are understanding this as maybe 3 communities or 5 communities living together. But that's not the nature of India's pluralism. Because within the family of 5, they have 5 different gods and goddesses going. So, our pluralism is very individualism in many ways. Because this culture has always encouraged seeking. Seeking cannot be en masse, seeking is always individual. You cannot make a crowd seek something. You can make a crowd pray, you can make a crowd do something else, but you cannot make a crowd seek something. Seeking is always individual. This being the fundamental ethos of this culture, we must understand this, that these are more recent happenings, probably in competition with everybody else in the world. Otherwise, this is a land which has always been a land of seeking. The highest values in this land have always been truth and liberation. Just in the previous generations, if you heard my grandmother talking, not some spiritual discourse, I'm saying daily conversation, without using the word karma, mukti, prarabdha, moksha, without this no conversation ever happened. So it was so much a part of our way of living that holding not God as the highest value, but mukti or moksha or liberation as the highest value.
And any god? Any god, you have…
No, we know the technology of God-making, but there has never been a god in this country. All the people that we worship are people who walked this geography at some point of time. They went through the trials and tribulations that all of us went through. In fact, probably they faced much more drama than what's happening in most of our lives. And we are not bowing down to them because they were, superhuman or something. They were human but not trampled by life that is here. And today, many people say, Sachin Tendulkar is a cricketing god. That's very much in line with our culture, because here, when we said a deva, we meant someone who has excelled beyond certain limits. They have excelled in such a way that most people think they're above humanity.
Right, but I think a quote of yours which describes India as a kaleidoscope of chaos, right?
So when we say chaos, the choice is like this: you can have a society which is like a manicured garden, and you need a gardener to take care of it every day, to trim you into place every day. Or you can have a society which is like a forest, which will anyway last for 1,000,000 years without anybody's care or concern. So we are like that, we are a jungle.
Right.
And no tending is needed, nobody needs to manage us, we somehow go on.
Sadhguru, in this chaos and anarchy and beauty and diversity of India, are we a bit worried that we are building these walls? And how do we stop them from being built?
It is not the reality of India. I know it's definitely become a discourse in a segment of the society, but when you go down to the villages, when you go down to just ordinary people, this doesn't exist at all. I hear people shouting over each other in the television rooms, saying so many things which has absolutely no meaning.
Not on NDTV.
Yesterday…
Sorry, I had to give a quick
yesterday
at NDTV.
Yesterday Vikram was holding a debate and somebody was trying to speak over somebody. He said, please, wrong channel.
Right, exactly.
I get that. But
But you're saying that's not a reality on the ground?
that's not the reality on the ground, not at all. It's just that, see, we are a nation with 1.3 billion people packed into 4% of the world's geography. We are nearly 20% of the population. So here and there, we step on each other's toes. If I step on your toe, you don't have to be a Muslim to hit me, all right? Because everything is scarce. From everything, roads are scarce, toilets are scarce, everything is scarce. So we keep stepping on each other's toes, and here and there friction happens. But we must also understand, we are a largely unpoliced country.
Correct.
We are an unpoliced nation, there's really no police.
There's no punishment.
No, that's not the point. I'm saying there is no law enforcement to stop something happening.
Right.
Only after it happens, the police will come. You've even seen in the movies, only after everything is done, that's when they come, all right? Because for the population that we don't have that much of law enforcement.
Right.
So in United States, if something happens, if you give a ring and they say the downtime is 3 minutes and 20 seconds, fully armed police will be there in less than that time in most places. But if you call here, only for the wrap-up. So we are not a police state. For that, I think we are an extremely peaceful country, unpoliced.
Right.
But everything is scarce, there's enormous poverty, deprivation. So here and there skirmishes happen, that not necessarily because of differences of religion, caste or creed, mainly for economic reasons. There will be rubs here and there.
Is that it's important for progress. Take, for example, any survey around the world, what do people know about India? Two things, Mahatma Gandhi and the Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal is a huge attraction for people from around the world to come, and now it's not in our tourist handbooks anymore. It's been excluded. Now, why… those sort of examples, do you find inclusion and not building walls crucial for India?
Taj Mahal is not in the tourism…
The UP government has issued a tourist handbook that doesn't mention the Taj Mahal, because as you know, their chief minister last month or 2 months ago made a statement saying Taj Mahal is not Indian culture. They have a particularly bigoted and narrow-minded view
Now,
of what is
he's
Indian.
becoming political. I just want to rescue us all from that.
No, it doesn't matter who built it, whether you like the people who built it or not. If somebody builds something beautiful, we must have an unprejudiced eye to appreciate it. When Malvika repeatedly said disabled community, I want you to know, most of the society is disabled in their own ways.
Right. Right.
It's not because you lost a hand or leg you become disabled. People are disabled, they tend to disable themselves in so many ways. So, definitely Taj Mahal is a beautiful gem in anybody's eye. You cannot exclude that from India. At the same time, I also don't believe that you must say this is the only thing in India. If you come to India, Taj Mahal is the only place to see.
No, of course
It's a
not.
very narrow way of doing things. I think that's what has been done for a long time. And it's time to change that by projecting everything else.
There's so many
But
other beautiful
definitely
things.
you can't remove a beautiful gem
If
like
there's so many
Taj
other
Mahal.
beautiful things, we shouldn't look at who built them, just that they are
Yes.
beautiful right now.
Especially if somebody whom you don't like built something beautiful for you, you must enjoy it even more.
But I worry a bit about you saying people you don't like. Is
Huh?
that…
No, I'm saying if you don't like somebody and they build something beautiful for you,
But are you talking
isn't
about
there a double joy?
But when you say somebody you don't like, you're not talking about a community.
No, I'm
Talk about
I'm
an
not
individual.
I'm saying I mean, I did not know that Taj Mahal is pulled out of the tourism thing. I really did not know that. I'm saying the only reason why you may do such a thing is because you don't like someone who built it, because there is a history of invasion, there is cruelty, there are terrible truths of the past. Shashi has been… I'm yet to read the book, I have the book, but I've heard him speak here and there about all the things that have been done during the British era, which is very cruel. But if we go to UK now, we don't hate those people. Yes, they have done this to us, we should never forget it. We should never forget it. This has been done to us because this should not be done to us once again. But it does not mean today's generation of English people, we have to hate them.
Correct.
No, that's not it. So the
Yes, but
same
you
goes…
could give us the Kohinoor back. That's the least you could
No,
have done.
that is the… that same goes for Islamic invasions. They've done terrible things to us. But we don't have to forget it, we should not forget it. Because
Also,
we
they
should
stayed and became us, Sadhguru.
Huh?
They stayed and became us. There were some invaders who came and looted and left. But for many of the people, such as the emperor who built the Taj Mahal, they are us. They are part of our soil, assimilated into our culture.
Say, I want you to know, if there was no World War II, British also would have stayed. So that doesn't mean that happened because of their love for you.
No, but Sadhguru, they sent everything from here back to England, whereas these people, even whatever they looted, they spent here. There is a difference.
That is because it's another time when there were no ships.
Technical problem, isn't it? No, no.
There were ships, there were ships.
Transportation issues.
And besides, they had a land route back home to the Fergana Valley, they didn't use it.
It's not easy to go.
But you say, whether they did or not, one should not hate them now and should not build walls around
See,
them now.
because…
Is that your message?
See, what I'm saying is, historically many ugly things have been done by different people.
Quite right.
Ugly things that have happened to us as a nation, we must remember.
Ugly things we've done to ourselves also.
That also is there, that's another aspect.
Right.
What others have done to us, we must remember, but we should not become bitter because this bitterness will destroy us. Why we should remember is so that we don't make the same mistakes and get into the same pit once again. That's very important for me.
Of course.
But at the same time, if today, let's say, UK spoke the same language that it spoke during the colonial era, definitely we will not accept them. Unfortunately, with certain groups of people, they're trying to speak the same language which was historically spoken way back. So this creates a whole lot of confrontation in the society. And this entire misuse of this for democratic purposes, when I say democratic purposes, because it's all a number game, so people are playing this game for last 70 years, so naturally you have kind of brought this little bit of fear in others. Fear means people are saying what's happening in Iraq and the Islamic State and stuff, what happened in Kashmir. So people think if these numbers increase, this will happen to us also, because it's happened in the past. So I feel if one thing stops, I think this entire little bit of heat going on between communities will die, that is, you don't try to change the dynamics of demographics. Just let it stay this for next 100 years, without anybody trying to increase numbers, you will see everything will level out. This is the only fear. That's why there is reaction.
What religion are you? What religion are you?
I never identified with myself with any religion as such, because we must
that's
understand this, religion is a very foreign thing to India. Because when you say if you have to belong to a certain religion, you have to believe something. But this has always been a land of secrets. We never ever believed anything. It doesn't matter, even when the so-called divine entities came, when Shiva came, his wife asked a million questions. The Shiva Sutra is full of questioning. And if Krishna comes, this man, his disciple, supposed to be asked 1,000 questions. Whoever came, no entity, however divine they were considered to be, could give us a commandment, only debate he got. Because there was no such idea as the God in our minds ever. So there is no belief system, so how can you say there is a religion?
So it's great that you're not a God man and you don't have a religion. I think that's a huge… God bless you actually for that.
We should extend that
Interpretation of what you meant?
No, because
Not, it's not. You
taking…
got it wrong again.
See, I don't wish to take a political stance because I've never associated myself with any political ideology at any time, not today. So, what I see is, What we are today, in many ways, we are products of history, we cannot completely eliminate it. The British history that you have extensively spoken about, written about, the thing about the British is they exploited you commercially. For them, you were just a resource. They had no other interest in you, they don't care which god you worship, whether you go to your temple or you don't go to your temple or
Is it okay that they eat beef?
Huh? I'm sorry?
Is it okay that they eat beef?
If they have a wrong choice of food, it's up to you, what's my problem?
So anybody can eat beef is their choice. Is that what
Of
you're saying?
course.
Okay, of course.
No, what I'm saying is…
That goes against what
No, no,
a
I will
lot of
come.
people feel.
I'll come to that. We can look at that later. This aspect. But when it comes to these religious invasions that happen, whatever the thought behind that thought you must surrender. You see, if I do something horrible to you today, 10 days later if we meet, at least I must show some regret or remorse in what I have done. When I'm proud of what I have done to you, this is not going to settle, all right? This is what you are expecting. When people are very proud of what they have done to you in the past, now you want it to settle, it's not going to settle. It is just… I'm saying it'll just be an academic debate, it is not going to be a social reality. I am not interested in any debate unless it's a solution for the problems that we are in.
So what's the solution?
The solution is… the important thing is, you can do whatever you want, but you have no business to tell me what I should do, all right?
And vice versa.
Everywhere, I'm saying for anybody.
Yes, yes.
Essentially, this is this. Because people believe certain things, because everything that you have to ever know in the universe is written in one book, people are insecure about that because we know what's written. The question is not whether everybody is like that or not. We're just afraid one day book will play upon us. So one thing that you have to do is, first thing, whatever the past cruelties that have been done, many things, it's not a simple process.
Right.
See, people have forgotten what has happened in this Delhi, what has happened in one afternoon. One afternoon, 20,000 people were killed in one of these days, three centuries ago. People have not forgotten these things because they know what will happen to them. And what has happened in Kashmir, people have not forgotten. Maybe people try to act like it didn't happen, but it has happened. So,
Well,
if the demographics don't change, you will see everything will settle down. The thing is, continuously people in a very strategic way trying to change the demographic dynamic. Now people are afraid because they know if the numbers increase, what will happen to them? So just don't do that one thing, you will see all problems will settle, believe me. I know the communities very well.
Right. At least you're positive and optimistic about it, but you do bring a lot of history into what people's fear today is, and that is a bit worrying. There is a Buddhist tale about two Buddhist monks walking down the road, and they come to a part which is very… lot of mud and water, and there's an old lady there, and she wants to cross. And one of the monks takes her on…
I know.
takes her on his back and takes her across, and while he's taking her across, she kicks him and beats him and says, "You're hurting me, don't go this way," and curses him and shouts at him. Finally goes around, puts the other side and puts her down, and both the monks walk on. And after 2 hours, one monk says to the older one, "That lady was so horrible and you didn't say anything, you just let her go, why didn't you say something?" And he says, "You're still carrying that lady? I put her down 2 hours ago." Shouldn't you put down your history?
That's what I said.
Just put it down.
I think that story is totally not relevant to me.
No, of course not, of course not.
Not relevant to the situation either, because the story is not… the situation is not about what happened. The situation is that there is no sense of remorse or regret about what happened.
You want the lady to regret?
Not the lady. See, that's a totally different… So I think I have a better way of telling that story. That's a…
You have a better way of telling most stories.
No, that's not the point. That is a spiritually significant story, that's a different matter.
Okay.
This is a reality which we are living in, where people who firmly believe their way is the only way to go to heaven, all right? First of all, I'm not interested in going to your heaven. So leave me alone. But you keep on trying to change the demographics, there will be fear. If you think that is an empty fear, then you have to see what's happened. What is happening even now in certain parts of the world, you must see. It is not an empty fear. So I'm saying, whatever you believe, it's your faith.
So you say…
First of all, let me finish this.
Sure.
I feel, the moment you believe something, you are disabling yourself. Because belief essentially for me means you are not straight enough to admit you do not know. As far as I'm concerned, either I know something or I don't know something, that's all there is. Everything that you don't know, you believe and you want me to believe the same thing? No. So this culture has never imposed anything on anybody because nobody believes anything. We are seekers. Seeker means what? You can be a genuine seeker only when you realize you do not know. So, this is of a certain nature. Now in reaction, unfortunately, we also tending to become like that, which is a very sad thing, okay? But at the same time, a society is not made by… till now at least, maybe in future it might, society is not made by spiritual wisdom. Unfortunately, it's made on the streets, how people react, how they fight, how they defend themselves, what they can preserve, what they cannot preserve. In this is how societies are made still. It's a crude way of doing things, but that is how it's made and that's how it is still now.
But didn't you just say earlier that you've traveled around India recently and throughout your life, even as a young man, when you were on a motorbike, people live with each other in complete peace and harmony and without fear, without thinking of the history and without thinking of numbers.
Even now it is true.
And Shashi says that…
I'm telling you, even now it is true, except those communities which are kind of little ghettoed, except in those places, everywhere else, even now it is true in this India, just now 30 days I've driven across the country.
Right.
Even now it is true, every kind of people, every kind of community leaders came to me and spoke to me and I spoke to them, all this happens.
Right.
I'm saying, one thing is a whole lot of people, particularly, I'm sorry, political class is trying to exploit the differences, all right?
I think you agree on that.
I think I agree with Sadhguru. The thing is that
when I say political class, I don't mean to say every political person is doing it. After all, politics is a dirty job that somebody is doing for us because we are not willing to do it.
That's right. So someone like you who has such a major role in society as a Sadhguru, should you and others like you not take on the role of educating people to overcome the fears you mentioned? I mean, the fear of demography is even mathematically an absurd one. 80% of the population is Hindu. How can they be afraid of a small minority of a smaller minority? And what is the demographic calculation by which this number can overcome us? Should we not educate them to leave their fear behind and say, look, let bygones be bygones, as he said, put that baggage down. You referred to Nadir Shah's attack in Delhi, 1739. I've written about the British attack in Delhi, 1857. But if we can forget the British, let's forget Nadir Shah too.
No, we can forget it. We just have to make sure it doesn't get repeated, that's all. I will tell you what's the fear.
But you're not justifying hate.
I am not
right?
justifying.
Thank
I'm
God.
saying,
Thank God. That's fine.
first and foremost thing is, whatever people have done historically, we don't have to hold it as a reality today.
Correct.
Only thing is, all communities should distance themselves from that historical events. But I will tell you, wherever there is a certain majority, you will see all other things get naturally pushed out, totally, which is not the way this country has operated. I'm telling you, in Tamil Nadu, if I go to certain districts, without asking me, the state provides me security. I say, why? So, Sadhguru, you don't understand, certain communities are saying you are coming and you will convert them into something else which is not their way. So they put police around me. I say, what nonsense, in India, why do I need police around me, for me? They say, that's not the way it is. It happened in Tamil Nadu when I went to Kanyakumari. They put over 300 armed police around me. I said, what the hell is this? I've never asked for security in my life, in Tamil Nadu especially. But they put armed police in a program where there are about 12,000 people, I'm walking up and down the ramp and speaking. These armed men are walking up and down with me. Malvika is saying is, it's unfortunate that such situations still exist, but policies can be made, but I feel these issues will be only settled by a more humane society rather than a rule, because a rule book doesn't really work in this level of thing. that when somebody is incapable of something, you reach out to them, is a natural human attitude. If we have surrendered that attitude for some reason, bringing it back in the social ethos is more important than fix a rule, because if you fix a rule, still it may not happen because that person needs that little help at that moment. So I think it's a lot of work to be done in the society more.
Well, I'm going to do something which I've not done before, and please excuse me if I get it wrong. Can we just stand for a second? I'll tell you when. Because I'm going to… In school, we used to always sing the second stanza of the national anthem, which we no longer do. And if you ask me, that stanza means more than any other stanzas, and I don't know why we don't sing it. I'll try and remember it.
You mean after the national anthem itself, what follows?
It's part of the national anthem. Actually, the national anthem has many stanzas. We only do the first one. And we've given up this second, which we used to sing every time, the second stanza. And to me, when in this discussion, when we talk about building walls and communities and minorities, that stanza means a lot. And it is… Aharahatab avana pracharita sunitab udhara vani Hind Bodh Sikh Par Sikh Musalman Kristani. That's what our national anthem talks about. And we should sing it every time. Because that is India. That is the diversity of India. Why have we given that up?
You mean to say why have we given up the stanza?
Yeah.
That's because they wanted to reduce it to 57 seconds.
Technical
not
issues.
Because…
They should take
not
this
because
stanza.
that's not relevant, that's still relevant to us. But they wanted to make it less than 60 seconds.
Right.
So, and also they're singing it like speed national anthem.
Okay.
Rapidly. So very unfortunate.
Fair enough.
But I mean that you said this. See, we must understand one fundamental ethos of Indian psyche. We don't really have a problem what god you worship, because in the same family there are 32 gods and goddesses.
And there is Ishwara Allah Tero Naam.
No, that's okay, but I'm saying even before that.
Yeah.
See, every other form of whatever… I'll tell you one thing, you take one picture of some pious-looking man, usually they must be bearded if it's a man, and take it and give it to one
I'm glad
old…
you didn't use the word God man.
I'll come to that God man, I think I should restructure that one. If you give this picture to an old lady in some village and say, this is a great sage, she will keep it in her puja room and worship without knowing who the hell he is. Do you understand? This is the only culture which does that. So do not destroy that by imposing something forceful, you have to believe this, otherwise you're not this or that. You don't have to believe anything to be in this country, okay? You don't have to believe anything to be a part of this culture, because everybody can do their own thing. That is, we know the technology of God-making. For every one of us, we made our own God. There's something called as Ishtadevata, that you can create your own god or goddess.
That's true.
If you like the tree, you can make the tree into your god. If you like a rock, you can make a rock into your god. This is a phenomena. This is the most wonderful thing, because this is a dimension of life which should never be organized. Because the moment it's organized, it becomes something else. So this we realized from ancient times, and we made it in such a way it can never be organized. There is a desperate attempt to organize it, but it's not working anyway. You cannot organize it, because to organize something you need one particular belief system. There is no particular belief system in this country.
But